Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Turning Point, a weekly discussion about a pivotal moment for individuals in the ag biological space, sponsored by TerraSim. I'm your host, Rhiannon Branch with Brownfield Ag News, and joining me today is the Chief Commercial Officer for NewLeaf Symbiotics, Matt Helms. Matt, I'll let you kick things off by just telling us a bit about yourself.
You bet. Thanks, Rhiannon, and good day. My name is Matt Helms, and I lead the commercial efforts for NewLeaf Symbiotics. It's a unique startup focused on pink microbes, and we're based out of St. Louis, Missouri. I've been in agriculture my whole life, and I'm just enjoying this immensely as I grew up on a farm just right on the Illinois side of St. Louis and having a great time bringing some new technology to the market.
Perfect. Well, you touched on it a little bit, Matt, but can we dive a little deeper into, what your agriculture background looked like and kind of the steps that brought you to the position you're in today?
You bet. So, yeah, I grew up on a family farm. The farm's still operating today, just outside of Belleville on the Illinois side of St. Louis. Studied agriculture and agronomy at the University of Illinois and spent 18 years at a large ag company in the St. Louis area. Really enjoying the time bringing both chemistries and new products, trait and seed systems with chemistry to the marketplace. It just was a great time over that almost 20-year time period. But a few years ago, you could see that things were changing with some of the large companies, and it was just getting more challenging, as it has been for farmers. And that really created a time for me to take a pause and look at what else should I be thinking about in terms of agriculture for the future.
I think I caught on to it there a little bit, but when you look at that journey so far, Matt, what kind of sticks out to you as a significant turning point in your life or your career?
Yeah, so the turning point I think for me was towards the end of working in big ag, seeing that so much time and resources were being spent, and they still are, to come up with next generation products and systems that are really holding on to the same value that we've been able to create over the last several years, whether that's a weed control system with traits and herbicides, or whether that's an insect GMO trait platform, biotech trait platform. It's taking 10 to 15 years for these companies and investing $250 million to come up with that next gen product to really hold on to what we were able to capture with some of those first generation products. And it's very much needed. It's very much needed. But just for me, who grew up on a farm, still heavily involved with the farm, I enjoy building things and bringing new products and innovations to the market that are more of that next step, that step change. And again, we need those pieces to be completed by the big companies. But that was really, for me, a big turning point to realize I think I'm ready to move on to something new, a different level of innovation. And that's really what caused me to look at NewLeaf Symbiotics, where I'm currently at. And I actually was introduced to the company and the technology when I was still working for the big ag company.
Matt, for those who aren't familiar with NewLeaf, can you kind of give us a rundown of what you guys do, maybe your mission and what you're all about?
Absolutely. It's a really a fascinating story. The company was founded, we focus on one type of unique class of microbe. They literally are pink. They're pink pigmented facultative methylatrose, PPFMs. But the microbes are pink. They grew up alongside long time ago with single cell algae. But the company was founded when a university, the University of Maryland, and Dr. Mark Holland discovered these unique attributes of enhanced roots, nutrient uptake, the properties of our class of microbe, without going into all the detailed science. But they decided they didn't want to expand that into a commercial effort. So two co-founders of NewLeaf purchased the research, the early work, the IP that was done. And that's what started NewLeaf on the plan that we're currently embarking on. And they set up the company at the Danforth Plant Science Center. It's the world's largest not-for-profit plant science center. And we're surrounded by a great community in St. Louis with great talent. And we just recently entered the marketplace in corn and soybeans, but we're looking at products to enhance yield, nutrient uptake. It's a dynamic, really fun space with everything going on with sustainability, better ways to farm, produce food, more economical, quicker. All of that we can do with our technology, but also in the biological category in general, not just NewLeaf.
Matt, similarly, when I talk to farmers, growers, retailers about biologicals specifically, they can usually kind of recall what they call a turning point where they started to accept that technology and better understand it. For you, when was that? Was that before your time with NewLeaf, or is this something that is just kind of been accepted for you in the past couple of years?
There's a couple of things I would say, and I would point to 3, 4, 5 years ago, as I was looking at this class that NewLeaf focuses on, the initial win rate of microbes in the field being around 70% positive hits. That's a step change. That's a turning point. From my experience, my last role actually was in R&D. And literally when we would look at wide classes of biologicals, in years prior to that, it would almost be like a 50-50 piano chart. So that was one big turning point or step change that I saw. The second was looking at products that are offering disease and insect mitigation in addition to the biostimulant nutrient pieces. And there's biological companies like us and others that are bringing technologies to the market. Again, taking a product to the market in 3 to 5 years for fractions of time and cost of the 10 to 15 years and $250 million. That's really exciting. And then the third piece for me, because I work quite a bit with some big molecules in the synthetic chemistry space, was seeing how efficient and sustainable we could bring these biological technologies to the market. So a quick example, Rhiannon, is we and other biological companies can produce products that would cover millions of acres out of a 10 to 20,000 liter production or fermentation tank. Okay, millions of acres with that level of efficiency, okay, versus literally it would take, millions almost of production capacity, lots of trucks, the different, management systems that go along with synthetic chemistry. And that is all very much needed, but this is a really exciting, innovative, and efficient way to bring technology faster to the market in a more sustainable way.
You pretty much grasp the concept there, Matt, but I think it's easy to say that you think biologicals themselves are a turning point for agriculture as a whole and moving forward. Can you kind of explain to us why you feel that's true?
Yeah, one of the examples that I think about again is I grew up in a family farm business, and we actually sold seed and was surrounded by seed people in previous positions as well. And if you had a home run or a racehorse or a superstar hybrid, it would have, a 60 or 65% win rate, okay, versus everything else out there. And that was what you would call the racehorse or the go-to hybrid that people would pick out. We're now, as a biological business, because of better screening efforts, genotyping, databases, and placing products in the right crops, we're able to get win rates that are between 70 and 80%. That is really, really cool and exciting. That to me is another point that just, and I'm not talking about our company, but for the broad industry, literally I stepped out of a meeting with 2 really innovative large farmers for this conference, and they basically quoted exactly that. If we can have products winning 70 to 80% of the time with a really good ROI that covers even the 20% that it may not work, that's a really good day for them. So that's what I'm really excited about. And then what I get excited about is the interactions that we're all just learning more about, this crazy time period that we're all in the whole world right now, but with fertilizer costs being higher, the conversations we're having now, Is there a tweak you can make on your fertilizer and nutrition approach and plan by incorporating things like microbes and biologicals that actually get you to a better place for yield, more sustainable and more economical? So that's what I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to more of those conversations.
Definitely. So, setting aside the NewLeaf COO hat for a moment and just talking to Matt Helms, who's been in agriculture, your entire life. If you're talking to someone who's maybe considering biologicals, or maybe they're against biologicals and they haven't reached that turning point yet, what are
Yeah.
you talking to them about?
Yeah, I think, a great place to start is just it's simple questions that farmers are really good at asking. I think, first of all, the market and the space is so much different now than just 10 years ago. And if we all think about the technology that a farmer was using on his or her operation 10 years ago versus now, it's totally different, and the same for this space. But the great questions to start out with, what is your technology? How does it work? How are you testing it? Who's testing it? I believe there's a process where you want to look at small trials, lots of replications. Numbers do matter to tease differences of performance out, but eventually and fairly quickly, you need to go to larger scale operations and fields. And the great thing about what we have now is farmers are utilizing their operations as one large test plot or market. They're splitting fields, they're splitting planters, the yield monitors are set up, the data flows instantly. And I think asking those initial questions, but putting products to the test across your operation in that fashion, are great first steps to look at.
So NewLeaf kind of has their own little story in the biological space. Talk to us about what the turning point has been for your company.
Yeah, I think honestly, in the last 6 or 9 months, it's been a pretty big turning point. Our technology, it's a unique class of microbe. When I started with the company, we were looking at specific delivery methods such as in furrow for corn and seed treatment for soybean. And those are very valid delivery methods. But what we quickly learned, and using my farmer hat, is when it's time to go, farmers need convenience, they need simplicity. And it's not just about farmers, it's about their workforces. Okay. And that's very challenging to get the right on-farm work and to be there year in and year out. So long story short, Rhiannon, a huge turning point for us the last 6 months. We have validated, because our product literally is pink powder. We've been able to work with commonly used seed lubricants like Talc USA's Talc and Graphite, the Low Mutec dust product out there, and others, to say, boy, you can apply our powder with those seed lubricants and apply it in a fashion and in a format that farmers are used to doing all the time. So now it's opened up the marketplace. We have less product, it's less complex. Now farmers that have in-furrow equipment can just focus on what they want to do, which is recharging with their starter fertilizer and not mixing in other things. And that for us has been a breakthrough or a turning point now, as we're engaging with customers, farmers, different dealers or distributors for the 2022 crop season.
So in other words, Terrasim is now something that you can just put in the planter box when you're running through the field anyway?
It is exactly. You got it. And the receptivity, we've got what we think is some really nice packaging to make it ultra convenient and simple for farmers or the workers on their farms to apply, whether they have individual row units, center fill hoppers, seed tenders. We've got those bases covered. And we're actually, this is really neat. We're actually getting more live microbes on the seed through a planter box application versus when we are applying in furrow for corn or as a seed treatment in soybeans. And there's technical reasons for that, but we have validated that with large scale farming operations and measuring the microbe counts on the seed, the distribution through the fields, and it actually looks like a better way for the product to hit the market than what we were thinking 2 years ago. So we are really excited about that. We're kind of in all gears forward now between R&D. Now we're able to look at some other crops and markets to work on this corn rootworm product we have coming in a couple of years, and looking globally in specialty crops like tomatoes and rice as well.
Definitely. I want to talk about that corn rootworm product here in a minute, but um, in terms of Terrasym, I know I've talked to a couple of farmers so far who have used it, and they've talked to me about some of the results they're seeing, the increased root mass, things along those lines. Can you touch on some of those benefits that, Terrasym and other biologicals provide to the plant?
Yeah, Terrasym is we believe it's unique because of it grows off of methanol, and methanol is a waste product from cell growth and division. And what makes that different is it's not utilizing photosynthetic sugars and energy that the crop or plant could be utilizing towards grain fill, yield, etc. So it's not costing the plant like perhaps other types could be. What we see is we see enhanced root development. We've actually measured that through a third-party lab at the Danforth Center with lots of pictures and photos. About 6.5% more root area on corn as an example through that process of over 2,000 images, greater rooting depth, and that's leading to enhanced nutrient uptake. A couple that consistently rise to the top are iron and manganese, nitrogen also for corn, and that's ultimately leading to yield. So in corn, our large scale fields are producing a 4.5 bushel yield advantage, and it's an 80% win rate. And we're pricing our product to scale because we're trying to get on as many acres. We're the new kid on the block is what I always say, and people haven't heard of us. So we're pricing our products to get the attention of farmers to use, and that hopefully we'll be having fun conversations over the next couple of years with our next gen products in soy, corn, and corn rootworm.
Well, as the new kid on the block, I definitely want to talk about those new exciting things you have in the pipeline. We all know corn rootworm is a huge issue for our farmers right now, and excited to kind of hear that you guys and other companies are working on some solutions. Kind of give us some ideas of what we can expect from NewLeaf in the pipeline moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Corn rootworm is very interesting. Again, lots of great technologies out there for insecticides and biotech traits. Unfortunately, Mother Nature usually wins, and every biotech trait now has a confirmed resistance level out there. We have a microbe, a pink pigmented facultative methylatroph that literally it's causing the corn roots to emit a response in the soil rhizosphere that then causes the corn rootworm larvae to not want to chew on the corn plant roots as much. It doesn't kill the corn rootworm larvae, but it mitigates and deters them. And we are seeing a nice response on top of both traded corn rootworm corn as well as untraded. Our research trials in the package that's submitted to the EPA shows about a 16 bushel yield increase when there's no corn rootworm trait used, and about 6 bushels when there is a corn rootworm trait used. So again, this planter box is going to be a great delivery method. We still will offer the others that I mentioned, like a corn seed over treatment, but we're really excited about the simplicity and convenience. Corn rootworm impacts between 40 and 45 million of the 90 rough million acres of corn every year. And that's basically what we're trying to do. That will be a step change. That will be a really big turning point, we believe, for our company and for biologicals. And we have some other next gen products also in corn and soybeans that look like the metrics are even better than what I described for our current commercial products. One of those we're bringing to the market this year with about 100,000 acres for farmers to try in soybeans called Terrasym 409.
Very cool, Matt. Switching back to kind of the general biological space as a whole, what do you see for the future of biologicals in agriculture, or what would you like to see maybe in the next couple of years, next 5, 10, 15 years?
Boy, it's hard to predict things, but I think, the fertilizer space is, again, how can we, farmers have been doing just a phenomenal job of utilizing technology to get more precise with planting populations, nitrogen placement, but I think we're going to figure out how to combine the right mix of biologicals with synthetic fertilizer, placing the products in the right place. Here's an example of the conversation that I was just having this morning, using biologicals, not ours, but other types in the fall with the higher fertilizer prices to make sure that we're decomposing that stalk residue may be one of the best investments that a farmer can be making right now. So it's this combination of biologicals and microbials with synthetic fertilizer, placement in the interactions. I also absolutely believe as carbon credits become more involved and valuable for companies. I mean, look at Tesla in the automobile space and the amount of money they're making by selling carbon credits. This is just starting, but it's going to continue to happen. And biologicals have a huge role to play in enhancing the opportunity and the value per acre that farmers could potentially extract through that type of exchange. So those are some of the areas for me. I think we're just going to get more digital. We're going to learn more. I think products are going to move quickly through the marketplace as well. And what I mean is new products moving through quickly. That's the beauty of biological. So I do think the questions and the farmers and dealers asking, how did you test your products? The number of testing, the third party, the large scale fields are all really important pieces as you have lots of decisions to make in this space going forward.
Well, Matt, I can't talk to a farmer during harvest without asking how things are going. And I know you've got multiple hats there as well. Start by telling us how things are going on the home farm in Belleville, Illinois.
No, absolutely. So we're excited about this year's harvest. We just started this last weekend on corn. For Southern Illinois, especially south of I-70 is what I would classify as Southern Illinois. I think in general, it may be the best yielding crop that we've ever had for that type of soil down there. So we're really excited. We just got rained out here the last couple of days and we'll get running back again. So we started with corn, but neighbors, friends, and family have all been talking about very nice yield results. 180 to 250 for Southern Illinois. Counties that have APH is probably between 160 and 180. So that looks very good. Across the countryside, last week was a real big week, I think, where a lot of people just start getting into it, both in corn and soybeans. I think one of the things that's really interesting, there were very high expectations in lots of places of the country, and yields are still coming in great, outstanding, but maybe they're coming in 20 bushel below the very high expectation in corn. I'm hearing more about the tar spot areas and having a little bit of an impact as being a new disease that's been evolving in corn. But I've been hearing also great yields on soybeans. So we know the north and western part up through the Dakotas and Minnesota, it's probably going to be a little bit tougher. But I think overall, hopefully even though prices have come down a little bit, that we can have a really good wrap up to this year and then figure out how to navigate through 2022 here this winter.
Definitely trying to balance both of those, get through a good year and focus on using this year to prep for next year. Putting the NewLeaf hat back on, are you hearing anything from your customers and farmers about harvest? Anything in addition to what you just mentioned?
Yeah, we've been hearing great results with our products. It's been early, I think in another 2 to 3 weeks, but our Terrasim 409 next gen soybean product, we've been hearing about a 5 bushel increase over the base Terrasim 401 product. But I would say in that 4 to 6 bushel range for our current Terrasim 401 soybean product is a good number right now. And then I'm still waiting to hear a little bit more on the corn front. Honestly, I haven't heard quite as many. I've heard a few in the soybean side, but so far so good. And one of the things I will say, one of the things that we do very openly, we share our yield results. So, for those that are, when you get to NewLeaf's website, you will see we will share those that we win, and we'll share the 20% of the time that we may not have a win. But that gives the farmer the confidence that we're being transparent with our technology. But the bottom line is it's a great ROI year in and year in and year out, excuse me.
Definitely. Well, you kind of segued into it there, Matt. For those who want to know more about NewLeaf, TerraSim, maybe even touch base with you and your journey through the biological space, where can they get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, NewLeaf Symbiotics is online at newleafsym.com. You can also check out our Twitter handle. Those are really the two places that the information flows most frequently. As we get into more of these yield reports, we'll have those being updated on the website and then also through Twitter. So those would be the two that I would encourage people to visit.
And you guys have been active at some of the recent farm shows as well, right?
We sure have. We were at Farm Progress again. It was the first time for us, and we had really engaging conversations with farmers. I'm just excited about this planter box opportunity because we can have direct conversations. It's scalable. Farmers can utilize the technology on their farm. We do provide some risk mitigation pieces if there is a concern that you can learn more about through our website through a satisfaction promise type of approach as well. But I tell you what, we were just all, and we had our R&D team up there bringing plant demos from the lab. We had some of us from our commercial team, and it was a great 3 days to tell our story. And I think farmers are asking right now, we're hearing more farmers ask, what else should I be doing? And the interest in biologicals seems to have really been really climbing, I would say, the last year or two. And we're happy to be part of that conversation.
And you brought good weather to Farm Progress Show this year. So I guess that means we'll be excited to have you back for next year.
That's right. No, that was rare. We didn't have to bring out our mud boots this year up in Decatur. I know they weren't quite as lucky over at the science review here lately in Ohio, but hopefully we'll be there in Boone, Iowa. We will be at the Commodity Classic this February as well. And if anybody comes down to the St. Louis area for hopefully checking out our St. Louis Cardinals baseball team, feel free to look up NewLeaf, and we'll host you at the Danforth Center and have a little lunch or coffee, and we're happy to do that. We get that when people come to town. Farmers, feel free to reach out, and we'd love to see if we can host anybody.
Very good, Matt. Well, is there anything else you want to mention, add to the conversation before we wrap things up?
All I would say is the technology is moving. It's moving quickly. Like I said, if you just reflect on how much technology has changed on your farm in 10 to 15 years, think about that, how it's changed in this biological space. And there's no other category that can provide the farmer ROI in as quick and an efficient way to the marketplace as this category. There just isn't. And that's what gets me excited. And yeah, in the early days, some companies had to go through some of the speed bumps to get to where we're at, but it's moving forward very efficiently and fun. And I love it because farmers now, they can split their planters, and we have large scale field trials with farmers. That to me is fun. And that's what I hope we can do, as we bring our next gen products to the market.
Very good, Matt. We appreciate your time today. I know you're on the road, so glad that we could connect with everyone. That does wrap up our second episode of Turning Point, sponsored by TerraSim. To learn more about NewLeaf, Matt mentioned some sources earlier, but you can also visit terrasim2022.com. And this episode of Turning Point will also be available to view on demand on our website at brownfieldagnews.com. Thank you all for joining us, and you can tune in again next Thursday at noon for the next episode of Turning Point. And that is going to feature Paul Schickler, who is a member of the NewLeaf Board of Directors. He's also the retired president of DuPont Pioneer. So we'll see you all then.